So a short biography of Dr. Gabriel Olatunbosun Adefolaju, who was born July 17th, 1946, to Pastor Joseph and Mrs. Comfort Adefolaju. He studied civil engineering at the University of Lagos from 1964 to 1970, where he obtained a first-class honors degree before proceeding to Leeds University in England for a Doctor of Philosophy PhD degree in concrete structures. I remember Aunt Lyra would joke about, would say, who does that? Who gets a PhD in concrete? Anyway, that was our daddy. Upon his return to Nigeria in October 1974, Dr. Adefolaju worked with Adeyemi Ogundipe and Partners, another consulting engineering firm, which was located in Ibadan then. In 1976, he teamed with some of his professional colleagues and friends, Engineer Adelekun, Engineer Ajibola, Engineer Kinjo, Engineer Oyemi, and Engineer Orumuyi to start Integrated Builders Limited, a firm of engineers and builders. He eventually joined Engineer Ajibola to establish Intecon Partnership, a firm of consulting engineers specializing in the engineering and geotechnical surveys, front-end engineering, feasibility studies, project planning, engineering designs, and project management. He participated in several local and international engineering workshops, seminars, symposia, and was well known as a resource person in some of them. Dr. Adefolaju was a fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, a fellow of the Nigeria Institute of Structural Engineers, member of the Institute of Civil Engineers, a member of the African Concrete Institute, and member of the Association of Bridge and Structural Engineers. He was an active member of some social organizations, including Ijesha Felates and the Rotary Club of Ibadan. He was a recipient of several awards for distinguished services in the engineering profession and other organizations that he belonged to. Dr. Adefolaju worshipped at the Christ Apostolic Church, Agbeni, Ibadan. He was an alumnus of CAC Theological Seminary, Ibadan campus, and was ordained a pastor at the CAC mission in February 2005. He authored 2 books, Building the Family God's Way and A Guide to Practical Christian Living. He was married to Pamela Ibironke Adefolaju ni Ogunoye, who is late, in August of 1975, and the marriage was blessed with 4 children. His life continues to be celebrated by his siblings, his children, his grandchildren, his in-laws, and friends.
Everyone for honoring this time. And I have the honor of introducing our first speaker, Engineer Wale Lagunju, and I will read a brief profile of Engineer Wale Lagunju. So Engineer Wale Lagunju is a seasoned professional civil engineer with 36 years of postgraduate practice experience. He attended Loyola College, Ibadan, where he obtained grade 1 distinction in the WAEC examinations in June 1979, which is my year of birth. He studied civil engineering at the then University of Ife as a university and Shell Petroleum Development Company Limited scholar, and he graduated with first-class honors in June 1984. He later attended the University of Lagos for MSc in Structural Engineering and in 1986, and thereafter obtained a master's in Business Administration from the University of Ibadan in 1990. Engineer Lagunju became a corporate member of the Nigerian Society of Engineers in 1990 and was registered as a professional engineer by the Council of the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria in the same year. He was elected a fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers in 2005, and in 2007, he attended the Harvard Business School, Boston, for an executive management course in leading professional service firms. Engineer Lagunju is the executive director of the Intecon Partnership Limited, which is a certified consulting engineering firm based in Ibadan, Nigeria. And over the years, he's been involved in the design and supervision of various infrastructural projects. He has been the project coordinator of many multinational and international finance corporations and funded infrastructure projects, and is quite knowledgeable about their project procurement policies. Engineer Lagunju has also led several project teams on project review meetings in clients' offices pretty much all over the world, including London, Houston, Luxembourg, Singapore, and Japan. He was a part of the National Institute team and conducted local study tours of states in Nigeria, including strategic institutions, as well as foreign study tours in Namibia, as well as in India in 2016. Engineer Lagunju is happily married to Professor Mrs. Ikeoluwa Lagunju, a professor, one of my best teachers when I was in medical school, and a consultant of the consultant pediatric neurologist at the University College Hospital in Ibadan. They're blessed with 3 children, and he enjoys reading and traveling. Please give a very Zoom type warm welcome to Engineer Wale Lagunju.
Thank you, Funke. God bless you in Jesus' name. I don't mind if I can share my screen with you. Can you allow me to share this screen? Okay.
Yes, you should be able to.
Okay, good.
Perfect.
Thank you, Funke. Thank you, Pastor May, Pastor K. Thank you, Tunde and the family, Damilola and the family, Dr. Mrs. Funke and Yinka and the family. God bless you all in Jesus' mighty name. The lecture is the history and current state of civil engineering in Nigeria, a memorial lecture given in honor of our daddy engineer, G.O. Adefolaju, the co-founding partner, Intecon Partnership Group. Engineer Adefolaju was a colossus in civil engineering practice in Nigeria for nearly 40 years after graduation with first class from University of Lagos in 1990. Went ahead winning Commonwealth Scholarship to bag his PhD in record time from University of Leeds in 1974, as we have been told, and was thereafter engaged in civil engineering practice until his peaceable passage in 2009. May his soul rest in perfect peace. Today, we are looking at the topic, history and current state of civil engineering in Nigeria. This will take us through the origin, its entry in Nigeria, the growth and contributions to development in Nigeria, the professional associations that we have and the regulatory bodies, the challenges and the opportunities in civil engineering in Nigeria, and how to become like Dr. G.O. Adefolaju. And thereafter we conclude. The paper has been divided into 3 sections: evolution of engineering, development of engineering in Nigeria, the practitioners, the firms, the industry, the associations, regulatory bodies, projects and conditions of engagement. And we'll look at the civil engineering practice and prospects in Nigeria. Let's look at the evolution of engineering. Engineering, as we all know, is the application of science to solve societal problems. Since 10,000 years ago of its existence, of the existence of man, exploration of earth resources by man in a very basic manner, living on fruits and small animals. Man later learned to use sticks and stones before inventing spears, bows and arrows to catch resources beyond the immediate reach and further. Then it went on to develop means of transportation, crossing rivers using logs, riding on donkeys and horses. Then he could treat himself, when injured, with using herbs. I mean, that was the origin of man. He soon mastered the weather cycle, looking to be able to store food and seek warmth before we have the discovery of fire. The early man depended pretty much on his cumulative experience, observation, and intuition. Practice over time brings knowledge, familiarity, and competence. They are the basic ingredient of craftsmanship. Ingenuity exhibited in this way was what was considered as engineering in the earliest times. Way back then, you have these 7 wonders of the ancient world. the Great Pyramid of Pisa, the Hanging Garden of Babylon, Colossus of Rhodes, the statue of Zeus at Olympia, the Mausoleum, the lighthouse of Pharaoh at Alexandria, the Temple of Artemis of Ephesus. These were the early achievements of early engineers and the craftsmen of those days. Then later you have the new wonders, the wonders of the New World, the Colosseum in Rome, the Great Wall of China, the Leaning Tower of Pisa, the Taj Mahal in India. All these magnificent edifices, the marvels of early engineering and craftsmanship, they are all still in existence till today. These are the 7 wonders of the New World. This is Taj Mahal in India, visited in 2016. That's Taj Mahal. That's a close look of Taj Mahal. Taj Mahal was constructed over 300 years ago. It was constructed about 1632, thereabout. It was constructed like over 300. You can imagine the level of ingenuity and technology that God has given man way back then. That's Taj Mahal. Sorry. Okay, that's my good self in front of Taj Mahal in 2016. Then let's look at the engineering in Nigeria. Engineering, do we add engineering? Because way back in 6th century in Nigeria, we have the iron smelting, and forging technologies among the Nok culture. These were fundamental to exploits of the Benin and Ife kingdoms, of the renowned kingdoms between 1400 and 1600 BC, AD. And of course, you have the metallurgy of the blast furnaces of Shaki, the blacksmithry of Oka, the fortifications of the complex Benin walls, the volcanoes of the Delta Ijos, that is the Great Wall of Benin, you can imagine. Then, of course, you have the volcanoes of Delta Ijo. Then we have this construction of the Zaria Friday Mosque, way back even in those days. Then later you now have the scientific revolution. The scientific revolution, which part of the Renaissance, which started between the 16th century and the 17th century, giving back to modern science. That was when we have the Isaac Newton, that published that famous principle, mathematical, in which you have the laws of gravity, laws of motion. Then you have the Michael Faraday, which you all read about in the field of electricity and magnetism. You have the Robert Boyle. I'm sure a good number of us still remember the Boyle's law. And you have the Albert Einstein, who came up with the theory of relativity, which presents that famous equation of E is equal to mc squared. That was the beginning of engineering. So you have this science revolution, which gave back to engineering, to modern engineering. So in actual fact, engineer was derived from that Latin word of ingenium, which means the ingenious one. So it's like engineering is identified with ingenuity. So modern engineering is use of knowledge of science and the mathematics to produce goods and infrastructures for the convenience of man and the society. That was the Renaissance days, where a lot of things people began to think, they began to find out how and why things happen, and of course that led to civil engineering, which was defined way back by Institute of Civil Engineers in 1828 as the art of directing the great resources of power in nature for the use and convenience of man, means of production and of traffic in states, both for external and internal trade, as applied in construction of roads, bridges, aqueducts, canals, river navigation, docks for internal intercourse and exchange, construction of ports, harbors, moles, breakwaters. It's like almost everything that has to do with life. And of course, you have the Galileo's 2 new sciences, which adopted a scientific approach to practical problems. In actual fact, the landmark publication then was beginning of structural analysis. That's the mathematician and design of building structures. Then the early engineers, way back then, we're talking about Osborne Reynolds, who lived between 1842 and 1912 in the field of aerodynamics. Then now the Carl Tasagi, Arthur Casagrande in soil mechanics. These are great men that started civil engineering. Then we have a lot of early civil engineering achievements way back. The Suez Canal, which was constructed between 1859 and 1869 to link the Mediterranean Sea to the Indian Ocean. It is still there today. The Panama Canal that linked the Atlantic Ocean with the Pacific. I mean, cutting short the travel distance when people are coming from, moving from the Atlantic to the Pacific. Then you have the Eiffel Tower, you have the Grand Junction Railway, the Metropolitan Line, which is the old, which was made the first underground railway, and many others. Okay, that's the Suez Canal, constructed over 10 years in the Mediterranean Sea, connecting Mediterranean to the Indian Ocean. Then you have the Panama Canal, another great wonder that connects the Atlantic with the Pacific. That is my good self in Panama, sometime last year, early last year. Then you have the Eiffel Tower in Paris, constructed in 1889. Then you have this old train station way back in 1837 in the United Kingdom. This was the construction of the Metropolitan Line way back in 1863. Looking at the origin of civil engineering and the notable early engineering accomplishments. Now let's go back to Nigeria. Let's come to Nigeria now. Let's look at development of engineering in Nigeria. The colonization marked the beginning of modern engineering in Nigeria. In actual fact, the first engineering structure was the old 2,110-foot-long Kata Bridge, built in 1901 to connect Lagos Island with Ido. It was about 6 meters wide, 20 feet wide. Then you have the railway line, constructed in 1895 started in Ido, took it down to Ibadan. In 1900, they continued to Kano, over 700 miles with branches to eastern and northern parts. It was the old narrow gauge then, and the travel time was 16 miles per hour, very slow indeed. So it was to move agricultural products from the hinterland to the coast for export. Then, of course, we have the telegraphy system for the British administration, which was started in Shaki. Then you have the first water supply to Lagos, which was commissioned in 1912. And of course, we have the old General Post Office of Marina in Lagos. That is the old Kata Bridge, built to connect Lagos Island with Udo, about 2,000 feet long and 20 feet wide. Then, of course, we have, some of us may not know this telephone. Some of our children of these days may never know any that this, what you are seeing on the left, was ever the telephone that we were using way back then. And of course, we have the railway in colonial Nigeria. The first story building way back in Nigeria there. So now, training of early Nigerian engineers. The early engineers in Nigeria were all expatriates. Then the training of Nigerian engineers by the expatriates implemented was by on-the-job training. So you have the P&T, recruiting people and training them. The PWD, that is the Public Works Department, recruiting and training people in technical training schools, and many of those early graduates, they took the City and Guilds, what's called the City and Guilds vocational examination. But a few of more exposed and influenced parents were able to send their children to England, particularly to obtain university degrees in engineering. It is from this environment that the first set of Nigerian engineers emerged. The first Nigerian to qualify as a professional engineer was Abat Macaulay, maybe perhaps the first in the whole of Black Africa. He was elected an associate member of the British Union of Engineers in 1893. But the first Nigerian to obtain a university degree in engineering was George Debayo Agbebi, who got his degree in 1911 from Birmingham University. He later went into a role as a fellow of Geological Society and a member of the British, that is George Debayo Agbebi, civil engineer, the first Nigerian engineer to obtain a university degree. Then almost 20 years later, you have Ishola Phillips, who got a first class from the University of Bristol in 1930, and you have Robert Stanley, qualified in 1934, Adekunle Koka in 1935, like that, and Adeni Williams in 1936 from Birmingham. All these were civil engineers. It was Olado Kunkoka, who was the first Nigerian electrical engineer trained in America, who sat with associated minds before he joined the ECN, where he worked till his death in 1959. The founding member, the founding president of ACEN, F.A.O. Phillips, too became a graduate member of the Institution of Mechanical Engineers through apprenticeship, though in 1943, and later on become a fellow in 1958. Unfortunately, most of the early Nigerian engineering graduates had difficulties being absorbed into the government employment, which was dominated by foreign engineers. That was understandable. So acceptance of the Nigerian graduate was very slow and painful, you know. But thank God that they later on got integrated and to master even the art. The achievements of engineering, some of those that we have was the radiation radio in houses that we have. I remember that in Ibadan then, the radiation radio. Then of course we have the first television station in Black Africa, that is WNBC, WNDS. Then the 35,000 capacity Liberty Stadium, which was completed for the Nigerian independence in 1960. And we have a lot of industrial estates that were constructed way back then. We have some contractors, local contractors, like T.A. and Sons, Adebayo and Olaibosun, Abdullah and Awomolo, given opportunity, being well patronized by government to provide, to work, to do some construction work. These are some of the engineering works in the 1960s, Ewekoro Cement Factory, the UAC, the Nigerian Port workshops, Ekwe Boat Yard, the Baro, Kano Railway, the 26-story cocoa house in Ibadan. Of course, the Niger Bridge, the popular Niger Bridge linking Onitsha with Asaba. Then, of course, the Kanji Dam, and you have a lot of them. That was the Eco Bridge. Then, with the increasing number of Nigerian engineers in the country, the creation of a platform for sharing professional experience and networking was only a question of time. So there was every need for an organization of engineers imbued with nationalist zeal and courage to decolonize and grow the practice of engineering in Nigeria and protect the interests of Nigeria and Nigerian engineers. So a group of students and graduate engineers in London got together to promote such an association, and this gave back to the Nigerian Society of Engineers. So on the 16th of February 1958, the NSE was inaugurated in London under the chairmanship of Mr. G.O. Awerioba, but was not legally incorporated. The formal incorporation of NSE actually took place in Abeokuta in January 1959 with Chief Adeniyi Williams elected as the first president. The Nigerian Society has continued to grow. So in our 63 years of establishment to date, has grown to over 50,000 members strong with 81 branches and 21 divisions. These are subgroup specific professional interests. It has become a viral society promoting and protecting interests of engineers and the engineering profession in the industry. The current president, that's Engineer Baba Gana Mohammed, and the Grove God Engineer Olumuyiwa Alade Ajibola FNSC FAE became a president of the NSC in 2010. That is the co-principal partner of our beloved Dr. Adefolaju of good memory. Another one of the achievements again of the 70s is the move to regulate engineering practice in Nigeria. So with the Commissioner of Works, that is Lateef Olufemi Okuno, he facilitated the promulgation of the current decree number 52 of 1970. The current decree was to regulate engineering practice in Nigeria, control the training and practice of engineering in Nigeria, and to ensure and enforce the regulation of all engineering personnel, engineers, technologists, technicians, craftsmen, consulting firms, wishing to practice or engage in the practice of engineering in Nigeria. The current president is that is the current president of NSC. Then the Association for Consulting Engineering in Nigeria, ACEN. Consulting engineers are those who focus on operation of designs, specifications, and supervision of engineering projects, different from construction now. Some of the practitioners, they got together sometime in 1971 to form an association for the subsector. The leader of the team was F.A.O. Phillips, who retired as GM from Nigerian Railways. So the association, the ACEN, was founded in 1971, although got registered in 1979. So it's a body of registered independent private engineering consultancy firms and the voice of the profession in Nigeria. Today, it has over 300 firms as members practicing in 30 of the 36 states of Nigeria, including the FCT. They have their objectives to ensure that the highest level of technical competence and business ethics are brought to bear on the practice of the profession in Nigeria. The current president is Engineer Okoroma, George Okoroma is the current ACEN president. These were the founding fathers or the founding firms of ACEN, Obi Obembe and Associates, Omishori Afolabi and Partners. Obi Obembe actually started in 1959, way back in 1959. Then you have all of them also like that, like ATRO and Partner Progress Engineers, Vasins Concept. Intecon Partnership was established later in 1976. Now let's look at civil engineering practice and its prospects in Nigeria. There's no doubt that civil engineering practice in Nigeria has made positive economic impact on the nation, and it continues to improve the quality of human life. The services are required by both the private and corporate organizations. We provide services from housing to highways, bridges, airports, ports, harbors, railways, wastewater, everywhere civil engineering is involved. Our services come in different forms, either consultancy or construction or research and development, or people in the academia or the public sector. So the industry is being developed and is contributing significantly to the nation's GDP, as we are going to see below. Let's look at road infrastructure in Nigeria. Currently, the length of road in Nigeria is about 200,000, which is very, very, very ridiculously low when you compare it to nations like America that have over 3 million, million kilometers, India, like maybe in that range, China in that range as well, but out of these 200,000, the federal, they were classified. We have some that are controlled by the federal, about 17% are controlled by the federal, then the state controlled another 16%. The federal roads are those that connect states, interstates. The state roads, they are the internal, those within the states. They control about 16% of that 200,000. Then within the local government areas, under the local government, we have another 67%. Indeed, there's an urgent need to increase the network. We do feasibility and civil engineering feasibility studies, engineering design, construction supervisions of most of these roads that are being undertaken by Nigerians. Most of those are in different conditions of disrepair. Some require rehabilitation, dualization, reconstruction, with relatively few new roads. Some of the completed roads that Nigerian engineers have provided their services include, that is the road network in Abuja. Beautiful Abuja city with Nigerian engineers participating, contributing to the engineering design and supervision of this network of roads. Then, of course, we have the third mainland bridge, that is third mainland bridge in Lagos. There's probably a plan now even to have another one, the fourth mainland bridge that will be developed, constructed very soon. Then, of course, we have that connecting link bridge between Ikoyi and Lekki Phase 1. That's what we're on the left side there. Then you have this airport road in Abuja. And these are all road infrastructure that Nigerian engineers have participated in the design and supervision. Then there is urgent need for what we call the public-private partnership for road development, infrastructure development in Nigeria, because of these grossly inadequate traditional budgetary allocations. So the federal government, sometime last year, I think it's about the third quarter, they did a roadshow to promote development of 10 highways. They identified 10 highways in the country that they want to construct with PPP under what we call the Highways Development Management Initiative. So that is in the pipeline, and we're expecting that. Then, of course, lessons must be learned from the Lekki concession. That was an attempt even for a PPP, but ran into troubled waters because of service roads that were not provided. But I want to believe that whatever we're going to do through PPP will learn from the Lekki concession. Then, of course, this will be coordinated by RCRC, the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, but they need to improve their performance as we go on with the PPP venture. The success indicators, or we can say for PPP, if the PPP is a kind of advice to the government that for PPP to work, then government need to build strong institutions that will endure, through successful governments over the tenure of the PPP arrangement. What we're trying to say is that there must be strong institution, that will, so it's not that a particular regime, as passed, then the investor will have a problem. There must be strong institution that will protect the investor through the various successful governments. There must be strong political will, especially in view of the reduced nation's income. Then we must create creation of enabling financial environment for long-term loan facilities at reasonable interest rates. This is still lacking because interest rates in Nigeria is still very ridiculous, over 20%. So that cannot be used for long-term facilities like road projects for PPP. And of course, the element of a tolling policy, very important. And you have the capacity building for all public sector representatives. Then the ICSU must be strengthened with statutory powers to sanction earning parties as well. Then of course, we have what we call executive order 7. This was to develop additional roads infrastructure by private sector entities to construct and rehabilitate eligible roads across the country in exchange for tax credit, which could be applied against the company income tax. Like, okay, private company develop this road, we know the we know the cost, we back it out of the tax that you're supposed to pay. Dangote has started that. They have constructed implement at Obajana in Kogi State, at Ibeshe in Ogun State, and Apapa even in Lagos State. Messrs. Lafarge in the process of rehabilitating the Ashaka Bajoga Road in Batu State under the same scheme. And these are all to rehabilitate existing road or to increase the length of roads that we have in the road network in Nigeria. The 200,000 is indeed ridiculously low for a nation with the landmass even that we have in this nation. And of course, we have the Presidential Executive Order 5. This was signed by the president, was to create more jobs and practice opportunity for Nigerian engineers. Here, the federal and the state MDAs, they are required to give exclusive consideration to Nigerian engineering firms. The procurement of engineering infrastructure projects with value up to 2.5 billion. Let's look at the building industry. The Nigerian engineers, they are civil engineers. They have played major role in development of a lot of building infrastructures in Nigeria, from high-rise buildings, housing estates, University of Benin Senate buildings, lecture theaters, hotels, event centers, shopping malls, multi-purpose buildings like that. Nigerian structural engineers who are primarily civil engineers, they are highly gifted, such as our departed engineer, Dr. Adefolaju, and have been responsible for the structural engineering design of some man-like edifices across the length and breadth of Nigeria. That's NDC headquarters. That is the defense headquarters in Abuja. Then, of course, you have the Winners Chapel, where you have the 50,000 seat auditorium, space roof structure with no internal support, designed and supervised by Nigerian civil engineers. Then, of course, Nigerian engineers, they are very proficient with the use of structural analysis and design software, conversant with all relevant international and local building codes and standards applicable to the industries. Nigerian engineers continue to achieve great engineering feats in the building industry. Go to Abuja, go to Lagos, a lot of beautiful housing estates be developed in the place, in different parts of the country. Civil engineers are providing good quality services. That is the National Economical Center. We participated in the design of this Economical Center. To the glory of that is Intecon Partnership Organization. Together, when Dr. Adefolaju was very much alive. Then, of course, railway engineering. This is relatively new because after many years of abandonment of railway service, Nigerian through foreign loans facilities, they have gone back to railway transportation. The non-neglect was due to the Railway Corporation Act of 1955, which gave exclusive right to NRC to construct and operate railways in Nigeria. They are yet to lift that, but we are hopefully that in the future, so that private investors can venture into construction of railway between places. So with development, with the new road facilities, they'll be able to construct the Abuja, Kaduna railway, rail line, and Lagos Ibadan. Lagos Ibadan is operational now. Anytime anybody comes to Ibadan, You go to Lagos, just go to Alagomeji station, you join the train, it lands you straight in Ibadan. After I think about 2 hours of ride, safe, very smooth, and on time. So it's a matter of time that Nigerian civil engineers will have requisite expertise in railway engineering. We know that Nigerian engineers overseas, they are doing experts in that area. So it's just a matter of time. Trust Nigerians, civil engineers, we have great skills in that shortly. Okay, that is the train on Ibadan, Lagos, Abuja, Kaduna, and Lagos, Ibadan. Then airport development. This is another area where civil engineers have developed their skills and have provided excellent engineering services. Dr. Adefolaju, as one of the principal partners of Intecon Partnership in his lifetime, was involved in the development of many airport projects, including Nigerian Air Force hangars at Ikeja, Kainji, Makodi, the Eket Airstrip for mobile producing, Escrabo Circle for Chevron, the Bonny temporary airspace at Bonny Island, the control tower at Eket, the helicopter base at Kwaibo Terminal, and the Loring Airport Cargo Terminal building. These are projects that Nigerian engineers have provided quality services. Then ports, harbors, jetties development, and also provide engineering designs and provision of ports, loading jetties, mooring and bridges. Dr. Adefolaju and his firm Intecon Partnership, other engineering services for the loading jetties at Bonny River Terminal for mobile producing Nigeria, the finger jetties at Ibaka in Akwa Ibom State, and the NSS Olokun for the Nigerian Navy. And of course, the development of Lador Base offshore Lagos, the Intecon partnership subsidiary, Interworks Engineering, was the first company to develop the early facilities Lador base offshore Lagos. So Nigerian civil engineers, they are quite, they proficient, and they are quite good in harbors, ports, and jetty development. And of course, the academia and the research institutes. We have Nigerian students who are lecturers, research fellows in universities and research institutions. They are both trained in Nigeria and sometimes overseas on scholarships. They attend local and international workshops and conferences, functional laboratories for research with useful funds, but of course, need better performance. Then, of course, the IMBRI, Nigerian Building and Road Research Institute, established in 1978, was to construct to conduct integrated applied R&D to various aspects of building and construction sectors of the economy. But of course, there is need for better impact of the institute on the construction industry. The challenges before Nigerian civil engineers, the quality of Nigerians produce needs to be improved to meet current challenges in engineering and produce innovative designs. Early engineers trained overseas who worked under foreign trained engineers have shown great performances. So for Nigerians to achieve self-reliance in engineering, continuous improvement in knowledge and skill development is imperative. There's need to be at par with developed world where innovative and challenging civil engineering projects were being designed and constructed to improve quality of life and economic development. In China, several are being built, incorporating tunnels, interchanges of different shapes and levels to yield transportation problems and conflict. We have this, in China, but it's a matter of time that we'll get there even in Nigeria. But Nigerian engineers have been challenged even to step up the game to get to this level. Now, how do you become civil engineer in Nigeria? Number one, as a young man, you have to have credit in WAEC, in physics, chemistry, mathematics, further maths, in addition to English language. Then, of course, you have to pass your JAMB, and there's what we call the post-JAMB for admission to Nigeria University of Interest. Currently, we have 21 federal universities, 16 universities, and 10 private universities offering postgraduate, undergraduate program leading to BSc or BEd or BTech in civil engineering after 5 years of academic studies. The 5-year training is spiced with 9 to 12 months of supervised industrial training. At your year 300, level 300, you go for 3 months. Level 400, you go for another, maybe 6 months. No, level 200, 3 months, level 300, 2 months, level 400, 6 months, about 12 months of supervised industrial training. Then thereafter, when you after graduation, you do your NYC. Now, current has mandated it that engineer graduates must proceed to engineering establishment for early tutelage in the profession. Then you do 4 years postgraduate pupillage in either an engineering design office or department or a construction company under supervision of senior engineers. Then you qualify to write the professional exam to become corporate member of NSC. Then after that, you apply to current to be registered as a chartered civil engineer. Then you have a license and a stamp to practice in Nigeria. So as we conclude, civil engineering has played major role in world civilization and its physical development, improving quality of life for humanity. Civil engineering in Nigeria has greatly evolved from pre-independence era through the periods of 80s and 70s, 80s and 90s, and continues to grow in all dimensions and contributing to our nation's GDP. Early practitioners who were trained overseas laid a good foundation, succeeding in the establishment of NSC, Current and Aken to domesticate engineering practice such that Nigerian engineers could have opportunities to contribute to the infrastructure development of their own country. They took both steps in setting up engineering firms, some of which have stood the test of time, including Intecon partnership, co-founded in 1976 by a gifted engineer, Dr. Adefolaju, God bless him, along with other highly qualified engineers. They show that Nigerians are equally gifted as their foreign counterparts, and they demonstrate their skills, as can be seen in many successfully completed projects handled by the Nigerian engineers. While the construction industry is still dominated by foreign companies, there are some Nigerian construction companies today founded by civil engineer professionals that are very busy handling projects of various magnitudes in both public and private sector of the industry, including oil and gas. Of course, there are also regulations being put in place by the government that favor development of professionals that the executive of the affairs has talked about, and the local government policy in the oil and gas industry in Nigeria. The future is indeed bright for civil engineering practice in Nigeria, especially since the country is still a developing country with huge infrastructural deficits. It is pertinent to mention here that civil engineers must make quality service delivery in all their services, including consultancy, construction, education, public and private sectors. There are international standards that must be our benchmark in all our endeavors so that the practice can develop appropriately to the extent that our services may be exported to other African countries, leading to foreign exchange earnings, thus increasing the contribution of our service industry to the GDP of the nation Nigeria. So these are the things that are of great interest to Engineer Dr. Adefolaju, and he put everything, all his efforts, all his time into it to become a colossus in the industry and to leave good footprints, good legacy behind in the industry. Thank you, and God bless you.